What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about DC's Saved by the Belle Reve, issue number 1. This is an 80-page back-to-school special. DC usually does like some sort of holiday-themed issue each month of the year, for the most part, usually having to deal with whatever it's going to be. I did one, was it last year, Tales from the Dark Side or whatever. There's usually some sort of holiday one. There's generally a Pride one. I think they do in June. July, it's something 4th of July, summer related. February, it's like Valentine's Day. They do these little specials or whatever, and they get various creatives on them, and they tell stories involving various DC characters. This is an 80-pager, so it takes a minute to get through and read this one. The first storyline is a Gotham Academy one. There's a Suicide Squad one. There's a Super Sons one. There's a Green Arrow and Speedy one. There's a Tiny Titans one. There's an Azrael one. There's a Black Lightning one. And there is a Nightwing and Batgirl storyline. So, oh cool, I named them all off the top of my head. So at least I was able to do that this time. The first one, of course, is a Gotham Academy-based one, written by Becky Cloonan and Brendan Fleischer with Carl Kerschel as the artist. This was nice for me because I enjoyed Gotham Academy as a series. I think that's where Becky Cloonan and that was at her strongest. Definitely more so than the Batgirls book that's going on right now. And Maps Mutaguchi is the main character here. I always enjoy when she kind of shows up her high bit of energy and enthusiasm for things. It is a little bit contagious. You can't help but enjoy the stories along with her. That said, the story with this one, nothing all that ecstatic or too interesting. Basically, she's off trying to find a journal. One of the characters of Gotham Academy is no longer going to be there. We come to find out. There's one funny moment where she's just like, wait, you're leaving even with your gadgets and that? And then you have this look in her eyes right there. Like that image right there. I kind of got a kick out of that one. You have Palm and all that. They go and investigate. They think there's some sort of like zombie on campus. And it's not necessarily the case, but it's actually just Solomon Grundy who kind of shows up. And the notebook that they end up looking for, which is for Olive, turns out to be taken by Colton over here. So, yeah, Colton's going to be going to Metropolis, so there's that. I'm kind of disappointed in some ways by the story. It's nice to see Gotham Academy again, but it felt rather rushed. It's a very brief story. They spend the whole time looking for a notebook, and then turns out one of them just kind of stole it, or maybe just accidentally put it in their bag or something. I don't exactly know what the point of it was, why he took the journal. It says not the end. That feels like something out of like Evangelion, where it's like you are, and then in parentheses, not alone. It was nice to see Maps again doing something, and some of the other characters from Gotham Academy. I wish she would appear in more books. It was nice to get her as a backup in the, the main Batman book a few months ago, where she was in like a 2-part backup storyline. That was fun, and I just kind of hope she shows up in more stuff. I think she's going to be appearing in Batgirls, so since Becky Cloonan's writing that, so I look forward to that one. Storyline could have been better. I felt like it was just too rushed. It needed to be a little bit longer, but then again, this is an 80-page book right here, so a lot of stuff is going to, feel rather rushed. The second storyline is High School Lows. This one's written by Tim Seeley, and Scott Collins was the artist. Basically, the Suicide Squad is off in some other country, and they end up infiltrating it and becoming teachers themselves. And you got Weasel, you got Peacemaker, you got Katana, you got Harley Quinn. You got all sorts of different characters kind of sprinkled in throughout this whole thing. King Shark's there, and they're all teaching various classes and doing all sorts of things, and there's some demonic child that's there, and he seems to be kind of taking charge of things. There's one panel I did get a laugh at right here. Editors note, Tawny, the Talking Tiger, is absolutely nothing to do with this story, but we thought you might like to see him anyway. That's my favorite moment of the whole thing. Just a random appearance by this tiger, and they're like, he has nothing to do with this story. We thought you just might want to see him. That got a good chuckle out of me, and it ultimately culminates in Weasel being the only one who was not influenced by this mystical-esque power thing, and eats and kills him. So there you go. Waller's just kind of annoyed, but they got the job done. Then the storyline after that, of course, is a Super Sons storyline written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Max Raynor. Now, this one is just Damien and John going back to school. You see their kind of differences here. Damien wants his hair cut short. John wants to keep his a little bit long. And they go to school. Damien rolls up in the Imperial March in style. I thought that was kind of funny. I do miss seeing Peter J. Tomasi on this one. This storyline, I'm sure a lot of people will be talking about it because of the subject matter it deals with. There is a character who identifies as non-binary, and this character is repeatedly bullied. John and Damien step in, and they kind of teach this character how to defend themselves. And basically this character ends up standing up for themselves later on, and that's kind of where the storyline ends. So the moral of the story is beat the shit out of your bullies, kids. That's it. Yeah, and they even have this shirt. So clearly not following the school uniform protocols. They should be having a tie and dress shirt, but again, that's just me. Yeah, there's sprinkles of the old Super Sons in there. The storyline itself is okay. It's nice to see Damien and John helping somebody fight in that, like learning to defend themselves. And that's about it. Nothing else all that special about it. I just know that a lot of people will probably have things to say given that it deals with a character who identifies as non-binary. I can already tell you that without, saying much else. But yeah, boy, I'm trying to carefully say my words about this so that way nobody accuses me of anything, but because I don't want to deal with that shitstorm. But anyways, it was nice to see the Super Sons back, and I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, all right. And then the storyline itself, like I said, it's just helping a kid who was bullied. So that's always nice to see them step up and do stuff like that. I just know that once people see the story, they're going to have reactions just simply because one of the characters is non-binary or identifies as that. So I just know it already. I can just tell you straightforward. So no matter what I say or do, you're going to have to deal with that. So, but the storyline stuff is all right, but it's nice to see the Super Sons doing Super Son stuff. So, all right, moving on. So yes, the next one, Green Arrow and Speedy focused. Speedy is kind of faltering a bit in school. Ollie kind of has to stop up, and he's just like, all right, you're taking a sabbatical until you get your grades up. But then he ends up being kind of depressed and miserable, and the guidance counselor or whatever it is was just like, hey, you need to be a better parent. Like, just kind of hammering them at home that they have to do their schoolwork isn't really going to help this kid in general in the end. And then eventually they kind of talk things out, and things are cool. This one was written by David Welgos and art by Mike Norton. So yeah, that one was okay. Not much to say really about it. He just had to get his grades up. Really exciting stuff here in DC Saved by the Belle Reve. Then we have a Tiny Titans storyline right here. Some people really enjoy Tiny Titans. The artwork is, well, it's more goofy oriented. The Tiny Titans actually end up in Belle Reve prison over here, thinking that they went to some cook-up. What was it called? Something more comedic, like Bell Peppers or whatever. Granny's Bell Pepper Rave Garden. They think that's where they ended up. And then they ended up in the presence of Belle Reve prison. So there's some funny bits in here. It's kind of enjoyable. The artwork, either you're for it or against it, but this is just the style that it's kind of going for. Definitely reminds me a bit of the days when I used to read things like Captain Underpants and that. And so, I mean, I got a little bit of a chuckle out of it. It's not a story I'm going to remember, like, till the end of time or anything like that, but there's some fun to be had with it. Then we get this other storyline, which is one of the weaker ones. It's Jefferson Pierce, a.k.a. Black Lightning. He is the Secretary of Education working for Lex Luthor, and he's trying to balance that life out and with his family. Is he compromising his morals and all that? He's trying to teach in that. It's just kind of there. I'm not sure. Like, at the end of the day, he's just trying to do the best he can in the role he's given. Lex Luthor is a criminal, so I'm not sure why he's, like, president. But then again, Lex Luthor is a very smart, intelligent guy, all things considered. But this one's written by Brandon Thomas, and that by the end of it, I just was like, okay, so he's still going to be working for the Department of Education, still inspiring kids and all that. I don't know. I just felt like in the storyline, this book that I paid $10 for, I would have expected something a little bit more exciting. I like the fact that, you know, Jefferson's still a good guy, and he's utilizing different means to kind of inspire and educate kids. It shows like what a good guy he is. but he's still working for Lex Luthor. I'm surprised he's kept the job, or maybe he didn't really seem like he stood up to much of it. But it's just, he's just trying to control himself from snapping. But yeah, it just kind of exists. Then we get the Dan Watters storyline. Dan Watters has been writing Azrael a lot as of late. You did Arkham City, Order of the World. There's that whole sort of Azrael storyline I think that they got going on right now. There's a lot of Azrael being written by Dan Watters at this moment in time, and this one goes back into his past, explores how he was kind of abused and manipulated by the Order of St. Damas, and his memories wiped and all that, and he's asking all sorts of questions, and it ultimately just kind of leads to that. It's kind of a depressing storyline, but it adds more to the Azrael character. Dan Watters did that, and Juan Ferrer did the artwork. I always liked Juan Ferrer's artwork, and I think it's a fun time. And then in the final storyline, it's a night off. Andrew Anion and Nelson Daniel. This is back in Gotham City High School. Dick and Barbara are going to school there, and basically asks her to prom. They have their little prom date right there. There's some kind of cute, fluffy moments between the two of them back in the day. I didn't realize that he was Nightwing back in high school. I figured that was something he donned like afterwards, but yeah, so they go on a prom date. Things kind of go a little bit crazy. Mr. Freeze shows up, and they're ready to kind of take charge of things, and Batman's like, no, enjoy your prom date. And then they go on their prom date. They have a nice, fluffy time, and then Babs was originally going to be the homecoming queen, but she kind of was a little bit late, tardy to the party. But at the end of the day, they just start dancing, and that's how the issue goes. Like, you know what, I missed it. Who cares? Let's have our little dance right here. So yeah, that's the story in a nutshell. Okay, I mean, if you want a Dick Babs centered prom related story thing, that's right there for you. But all things considered, that's the story. That's the book in general. I just kind of pretty much just summed up everything right there. There's some nice artwork sprinkling out. It's nice to see Gotham Academy stuff. But this is a $10 comic book, and there was really no story in this thing that really wowed me or reached its full potential. When you have 8 stories in here, yeah, you're getting a large variety, and some are enjoyable in that. But like I said, I spent $10 on this comic book, and I just, maybe was hoping for something a little bit stronger. It's a back-to-school thing. There could be a little bit more fun to be had with it. Some bits may add a little bit to the characters. The Azrael one did. But others, like the Black Lightning one, just at the end of the day, was just kind of So, I don't know. It's one of these anthology things. You kind of know what you're getting with a lot of these things. The Super Sons one, I was happy to see old school Super Sons in there doing their thing. That was nice. There's sprinkled bits of humor in there. The Suicide Squad one had a bit where I kind of chuckled. Gotham Academy, it was nice to see the characters back, but that storyline itself was rather rushed, and it was kind of uneventful, all things considered. But then you have other ones, like I said, the Tiny Titans. If you're for that, if you're a fan of that, maybe you'll like it. But all things considered, this wasn't a book that necessarily wowed me. I thought it was just all right at best. It had its moments in there, but it wasn't anything amazing, or certainly not anything I think was worth spending the $10 on. But these are these anthology books. You get what you pay for. Sometimes you're really enthusiastic about the stories, and then other times it's just nothing all that special. But like I said, it's an anthology book. They don't always necessarily wow me in terms of their stories. Once in a while they'll have something really good in there, but for the most part, at best, they're just kind of all right with a few sprinkles of good within them. So if that makes sense. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on DC Saved by the Belle Reve. This is pretty much the only comic book I'll be reviewing this week. So yeah, that's it. No other comic book reviews for me this week, unless I go back and try and catch up on some older stuff that I missed. But I don't really think so. So in terms of new DC comic books, because like I said, this is they had a little bit of an extra Tuesday this month. So they had the 5 weeks this month. That's why they usually kind of cram all these sort of anthology titles and stuff like this towards the end of it. That's why. So yeah. All right, I think I've rambled on enough. If you have any thoughts on DC Saved by the Belle Reve, post their comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of it. And like and subscribe for more content and all that. And yeah, until next time, Take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.